Namaskar, Adab, Sat Sri Akal. A very warm welcome, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. I hope you're doing well. You're staying safe and healthy. लास्ट सेशन की शुरुआत में भी मैंने पूछा था और हर सेशन की शुरुआत में आई एम गोना बी अ लिटिल बिट मोर माइंडफुल अराउंड कोविड क्योंकि कोविड फिर से शुरू हो चुका है एक एक यू नो लहर की तरह ये फिर से फैल गया है और बहुत जगहों पर इंक्लूडिंग यहाँ यूएस में even including in my neighborhood. I've been hearing a couple of cases here and there, and the numbers are rising. So, guys, wherever you are, please follow all the protocols. It is really very important. बहुत थोड़ा लेट बैक हमने देखा होगा है बहुत सारी कंट्रीज बहुत सारी सिटीज स्टेट्स जहां पर people have started taking it or had started taking it a little lightly. And with the new year coming almost around the corner, people will be already planning these parties get-togethers and whatnot. So it is really very important कि अगर आप जो भी प्लान कर रहे हैं फैमिली गैदरिंग फ्रेंड्स की गैदरिंग you take necessary and important precautions because this is really not. I heard recently the first death in US because of this version, even though the person who died was not vaccinated and had other health conditions, but at the same time ये वायरस नहीं देखता whether you are who you are. इसने अगर impact करना है it will impact you. I've seen people as young as in the teens leave the world, and I have seen seniors even fall for this. So guys, please take it very seriously and do not take it okay, हमने तो वैक्सीन करवा लिया है, so we can be without a mask, or we can do anything. Pranam, Vijay Tiwari ji, Dr. Vijay Tiwari. If and as I said, Vijay ji, किसी दिन जरूर मैं चाहूंगा आप भी आएं यहाँ. डॉक्टर कृष्ण भट्टाचार्य भी हैं. I would love. Oops, sorry. So I would love to have all of you there. All right. अभी के लिए हम शुरू करेंगे. आज का बहुत टाइम बॉक्स्ड सेशन है. इस सेशन के अंदर ये सेशन अगेन मेरा खुद का पर्सनल फेवरेट होने वाला है बिकॉज दीज टू ट्रेट्स दैट दे आर गोना टॉक अबाउट. आज से अगर मैं कहूँ 10 या 12 साल पहले व्हेन आई वाज maybe had higher levels of energy, these were the traits which I was lacking, which were one of them was definitely listening. सुनने की बहुत कम होती है when you are in your teens and all that stuff. It's all about talking. It's all about giving everybody gyan bhashan and all that stuff, and not kind of listen to the things that other people have to tell you, people who have more experience, people who have seen the life more closely. And the second thing is, of course, when you're not listening, uh, you are continuously talking. So kabhi kabhi, once in a while, it's always good to have that silence in your life where you're just absorbing or assimilating certain things. So let's get the experts. Let's get the experts do the talking. Like I said, it is all about a very important thing that we have been doing for a very long time. And not to forget, Relaxx app. If you haven't tried it till now, I would encourage you to please do that. So without wasting any more time, let me get both Vibhuti Jaji as well as Dr. Krishna Bhattaji on the screen. Namaskar and welcome once again.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And this is session 4. We've covered different aspects already, but today's session, like I said, वैसे तो मैंने पिछले 3 में भी शायद ये बोला होगा कि I'm gonna assimilate और पर आज तो टॉपिक ही ऐसा है कि I definitely should maintain a little silence on my end, and I should definitely listen to both of you because this is one thing which I have learned after moving to US. When I was in India, हम सब शायद ऐसे ही थे और ऐसे ही रहते थे कि एक दूसरे को कट करना, बात करना, सुनना नहीं, समझना नहीं चीजों को, बट ऑलवेज रिएक्ट विदाउट इवन थिंकिंग. वो थॉट प्रोसेस को किक इन ही नहीं होने देते थे. But once I moved here, I started watching people, how they behave, how they, and then more responsibilities also, kind of came on. So that's when I started getting a little bit more. अभी भी मैं उतना वहाँ नहीं हूँ जहाँ पर मुझे होना चाहिए. So that's why this session will definitely be very, very important for me personally. So to get it started, I'll go with you, Vibhuti Jaji. सबसे पहले आपसे ही बात करते हैं कि that is, let's start with the same format, which is the top thing on your mind, and then tell us a little bit about this topic that we are going to talk about.
The top thing on my mind is, we are paying a tribute and we are fighting for Sushant Singh. That is something always goes together, and everything that we talk about has an element of reality. I did not know Sushant Singh until his death. My wife and my son knew his movies very well, and they were both extremely fond of him. They used to say jokingly with me, कि at last another decent looking बिहारी दिख रहा है वहाँ पे. तो मेरी मजाक करते थे, pull करते थे leg, but there was something very symptomatic about his acting, and that was what is typified in Hollywood: less is more. And in that less is more, Sushant Singh's movies, which I saw post his tragic demise, I found something very telling. He was very expressive, and he spoke, he typified less is more. And that's where I derive the emotional element of this entire topic today. Silence and Listening is another movie which was Enter the Dragon. In the protagonist, Bruce Lee, after the first fight that he does, he tells a young boy, listen, don't see. That was a very, very profound expression which we saw in the movie Enter the Dragon, which was a big movie of our time. You were not even, many of you were not even born at that time. But if you see the movie, you will see the impact of it. Sitting in the theater, I felt it. As a sportsman, as an aware guy, I said, wow, what a message. Because that's what was relevant for me as well. Because I was a very silent guy. I did not talk. I was a very shy guy, a typical Bihari shy guy. I was known to be a shy guy. Mukhar Vindu to baad mein khule, because there was a moment in time. This is a real example how I began to speak. So the friends, Bishop, before I jump into the topic, there are two elements of silence and listening. One is on the spiritual end. It is very important for purification of mind, body, and your inside spirit, flame, flash, fire, call it any which way you want. And the second one is on the practical, real political level, when the mode of operation is having the last word. you know Having the last word, listening to what your opponent is saying, and making things happen, because words matter. What we say, because that is, the entire reality of life lives in languages. And silence, let it not be forgotten, and listening are also part of that dialogue. The words that when you listen, you imbibe more, you learn more. That is very important. It is a universal truth. Sages and saints and, Patanjali and others, they have made beautiful quotes on statements on silence and the virtue of listening. It's when you listen, that's the time when you are reading between the lines. So there is a two dimensional things: political and real life, spiritual and and a peaceful life. Doesn't mean that this one is not real life. It is it is a real life too. Both are real lives. It doesn't mean that silence and listening is not relevant to the other side, because these go contemporaneously, and that's important for that.
Great, great. Absolutely. And Dr. Krishna, I mean, if you would like to add something, and again, what's one thing that's top of your mind as well? And then what is your take on this subject that we've taken today? And you're mute. You are mute. You you need to unmute.
Unmute kariye sab. हाँ.
Top of my mind, when you first said, we all like to talk, that's uh, I sometimes say, it's like we are urologists and we see patients who have urgency, like urgency to go to bathroom, and there is you sit in board meetings and you can see some people, they have this urgency of thoughts, like they have to say something, it's like they can't hold it back. doesn't matter, so they will cut through any barriers. So that's one of the things that came to my head when you said that. um, I love this topic because part of our app has got this intermittent silence, and one of the important component, and I think the most important component is silent listening. But before I go into silent listening, let me tell you that listening is two levels, and Vibhutiji talked, a different perspective. But one level of listening is the common life, and I'll give you an example. And there are many examples, but one I will give you this. Um, my consultant or attending or my mentor at Mass General, he said, I have to talk to you about something. So we walked over, got tea, sat down on the chair, and the talk was less than a minute, but there was a total attention, 100% attention present on both sides. And then we got up and left, so we didn't even finish the tea. So that communication of 100% presence, and this is, I see that so commonly in patient relations. If a patient comes and you give them your 100%, they feel like you have their visit was fulfilled, and it was, like 1 hour long. And sometimes you spend 20 minutes, but you are looking here, there, and not paying attention. That patient doesn't feel satisfied so much. And I don't know, Vibhutiji probably had that experience in business too. This giving, especially if it's your son, your daughter, your wife, or family member, we are used not to give attention to them because they are always there at home and around you. So sometimes it's hard to give that 100% concentration or focus. So this is what the practical aspect of listening or communication. But then I'll come to spiritual next. Let's hear from you and Vibhutiji where we are.
Right. And, I'll also continue to read some of the messages as well. Just as Sonal keh rahi hai, Krishna ji, being in the moment makes a huge difference. And I think, you both mentioned few things, and let me just kind of, relate to how I also fall in that bracket, the urgency wala bracket jo aapne bola, कि ऑफिस में बैठे हैं या यू आर ऑलवेज लुकिंग के जो आया है पहले उसको डंप कर दो, सबको बाहर निकाल दो इससे पहले. एंड यस, I also, things definitely have improved, things have definitely changed, I would say. But there was a moment, or there was a time when I would be like कि सबसे पहला मेरा नंबर होना चाहिए, या सबसे पहले मुझे सुनो, और सबसे पहले मेरे को अपने आइडियाज या थॉट्स या व्यूज रखने हैं. इन द लास्ट 1.5 years, ट्रस्ट मी ऑन वन थिंग, जब से यहाँ सुशांत से रिलेटेड ये शुरू किया है, it has I have completely flipped. Now I want people to talk, I want people to share their views, and I'm on the receiving end, whereas I keep my own personal judgments, views, my own thoughts at constant check कि मुझे, I don't want this to be in a way influenced by my thoughts, my views, and everything. uh, and I see a lot of goodness in that. I think I was missing this earlier on just because of maybe the lack of experience, or the energy levels. But ऐसा नहीं है कि energy levels down हो गए हैं. But I think I have learned it, in the duration of this couple of years, I would say, that it's always good to get a fresh perspective. It's always good to hear other people out. But at the same time, you need to set certain boundaries for everyone. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि आप अगर चुप हो गए हो तो किसी और को आप बोलने दो, और they can just take over everything. There has to
Right.
be a balance that you all need to maintain, but the balance has to first kick in from yourself. If you are not balanced, if your thoughts and views are not balanced, you will not be able to give that same opportunity or chance to others as well. Now, coming back to this particular app you just mentioned, okay, is app maybe there are certain things that can help us develop this kind of, I don't know if you want to call it a skill set, or if you want to call it a trait, or if it's like a habit. But why don't you talk a little bit about from the app perspective as well, that if I am using this app and if I want to kind of learn this, how and what do I do?
So the practice of intermittent silence, which says that spend 5 to 10 minutes of it a day with yourself, and in that you conserve energy by closing your eyes and closing your mouth, but then you go into this listening mode, just listening without judgment that you are talking. And this 5 minutes and 10 minutes in the beginning, it may be uncomfortable because we are not used to it, but it becomes profound. You get this, the power of silence inside you. And then slowly and slowly you start, as you said, you become a better listener. And the moment you become a better listener, you are a better communicator. And this urgency, I don't know if you have had any time when you were in a rush to reply to an email and regret 2 minutes later why did you send it. So there is all these little things, but you can say that you'll train your mind to do that, but this practice of silence, intermittent silence, really makes it easier to get there. Yeah.
Vibhuti, what would
I
like
would put it this way, go and visit the app, look at the intermittent silence thing, and eventually it is all about practicing it and internalizing it. Remember one thing, knowledge, 90% of what we are going to say or we are talking about, intuitively and instinctively, we all understand it. Look at yourself, Varun. You yourself said that I wish I had done this a couple of years ago. What did Krishna ji say? Paying attention in that moment for 1 minute or 5 minutes, being present in the moment is critical. It's not about talking all the time. There is a very interesting definition which Krishna ji was telling that I must have experience in my work as a private banker, as a corporate banker. When you are in a serious conversation, when assessing the value of your client about what's happening out there, you leave things and try to learn. How do you learn? रीडिंग के लिए तो बहुत है, मटेरियल्स बहुत बड़े पड़े हैं, थोड़ा गूगल कर लीजिए, जो भी चाहे आप सबको मिल जाएगा, दुनिया के सारे कोट्स मिल जाएंगे आपको वहां पे. लेकिन unless and until you internalize and begin to practice that particular teaching in your real life, things don't happen. So we had to learn the art of listening to the client, because what he's saying is important. Every word matters, every action matters. So, as a result of which, there were more questions than my talking. And there was a very interesting definition of talking too much. Remember one thing, talking too much is not about yapping for 15 minutes or 20 minutes, as I'm doing right now. Talking too much also means how much you reveal about yourself and what you intend in one sentence or two. So I recall this, particularly we were in Bahrain for consulting with an investment bank, and my partner, former chairman of a bank, and he and I were listening to the sheikhs and his team, and we just would slip in a question, and they would talk. They would talk as if they had never talked before, and it was amazing. They had never got a chance to interact, and we learned so much. There were silence on our side physically, but attentively we were listening to every word. That allowed us to take good decision, better decision, to suit the client. It's a very interesting thing, to suit the client, not me.
true?
I'm only material. So the point of the matter here is that when you practice some of these things, here what we are doing with the app is enabling you with a tool that you can use and practice without exerting yourself too much. It's all about using the app. And it has been an overwhelming response from the viewers of your show. And 20,000, 23,000, 30,000, that's great. I hope many people are downloading it, and downloading it with an intent to learn, with
Right.
an intent to listen to what we are saying, what we are proposing to you, and imbibing it in your body and mind and your spirit to, yes, mujhe ye karna hai. That's what is most important from my point of view today.
Got it. Now let me add few things here. First thing, our Sonal Kavi point here, and let me, before I flash that point, one of the biggest challenges that we all face is the noise. We are all constantly being involved in multiple things. We're always multitasking. We are always constantly doing so many things at the same time कि वो moment of silence जिसे कहते हैं, even in our regular day to day life, like I sometimes call it the me time. What I do is I come back, I sit here, and I just look at a black screen, and try to kind of assimilate कि हाँ मैंने क्या, what is the next step. I also have a to do list. I sometimes I'm able to finish everything on that to do list, sometimes I'm not. बट दैट मोमेंट ऑफ साइलेंस अपनी लाइफ में लाना, या वो द मोमेंट ऑफ पीस लाना, कई बार इट बिकम्स वेरी चैलेंजिंग बिकॉज of multiple reasons. You have family, you have kids, you have work, you have thousands and thousands of things on your mind. The mind is constantly running. Mind never kind of takes a pause, at least for a couple of us. So ऐसे में, what would be your recommendation that, of course, life goes on, life will not stop, and things will not stop, work will not stop, things to do in a day, the list grows every single hour, if not every single minute, every single hour there is something new on your list. How do we bring that feeling or that emotion to ourselves, and then to the next level overall, on a personal as well as a professional basis? How do we also make others understand the value and the importance of silent listening?
Go ahead, Krishnaji.
So, Varun ji, the only way I found, if you think that I will do it one day, that one day usually doesn't come. But if you put it into your routine, like you brush your teeth every day, you take a shower every day, so 5 minutes or 10 minutes, जैसे पूजा करने जाते हैं, it's something that you have to bring it into your routine of your life. Everybody sleeps. You can do one of the meditations, whichever you use, sleep me. And if you go to sleep during the meditation, that's okay. But somewhere you have to say, now I'm going to put this in my routine of my life. Otherwise, एक दिन करना है तो एक दिन आता नहीं है. So, and I keep quoting Gita, abhyasena tu kaunteya. So, but abhyas karne ke liye bhi, you have to set the routine, whether it is exercise or whether it is meditation, whether it is practice of 5 minutes silence or just 5 minutes of mindfulness in the morning. But you have to give out a block of your time कि ये हमको करना है. बाकी टाइम में आपको जो करना हो करिए.
That's true.
Got it. Vibhuti, you want to add something?
I wanted to add something which I think Sonal was writing that about multitasking and things like that. That was a very interesting anecdote, which I was present in that church when Deepak Chopra wrote a book, God, and he was making a special video, and I was invited for that presence in that conversation. And one of the questions was by the audience, the multitasking. These days, we are all so much involved in multitasking. Deepak Chopra being who he is, so I'm quoting him. It's not my joke, but if you are able to laugh, do laugh. So when he talked about multitasking, the whole audience of about 300 people burst out laughing. He said multitasking is the real cause of the undoing of the modern generation of millennials or whatever the generation we are in, right? Multitasking. And he says, it is the biggest crusher of efficiency and effectiveness. And he gave the example. I challenge all of you today, and Deepak Chopra being who he is, people were listening with a pin drop silence. He said, try making love and issue sending WhatsApp and Twitter messages at the same time. So the crowd immediately understood that multitasking is not possible because it takes away your attention from what you are doing to something else. So whether it is doing something or the other, you are divided in your attention. And we have talked about earlier, energy follows attention. It's very important to figure that. That's what Krishnaji earlier mentioned. that when his boss told him at mass to take him for a conversation, a minute or two, there was total attention there. It was not that you were not paying attention to what was being said. That's the important part about multitasking. It doesn't mean that you can't talking and you can't take a gulp of water. That's not multitasking. Multitasking is that when you begin to take your job so seriously that you are trying to finish too many things at one time. That's what is multitasking. So that's what is important to understand, that silence and listening, relaxation, these are all elements of creating better energy power in yourself, energy source in yourself, so that when you are doing something, you are doing it for that moment. That's what is the true meaning of living in the present.
Right.
If we are not in the present, then we kind of allow ourselves to be lost. Otherwise, we say, "Oh, I did not hear what you were saying," because your mind was somewhere else.
Yep. Yep.
When you do not hear what somebody is telling, then you are lost in the wilderness or you miss the message. This is what is important as a very important element of communication. Think about it from the another part of it. Communication, silent communication is also a communication. Silence, they say that, there is a very nice Sanskrit में कहते नहीं है कि मौनम सुकृतनम लक्षणम. There are many words to convey this meaning. Silence is the virtue of the fool, and silence is golden also at the same time, right? So
Yeah.
it also conveys to us that everything is very remarkably in the moment. It's all relating to being present in the moment, and in that moment, listening is required, silence is required. Both go concomitantly. It doesn't say that you have to be silent all the time. No, you have to raise your voice at times. But we lose the significance of this element because we love to talk. There is no other sound. There is, as the story goes, the best sound in the world is listening to your own voice. That's why sometimes most of us love to hear ourselves talk. I'm one of them.
Okay. At least I'm not reached that state. So, whenever I'm done talking, I never go back because, I will definitely criticize. But on a lighter note, right? I mean, another thing that I really want to highlight here is, say, for example, this session itself, right? I mean, not to poke or not to take a dig at Sonal or anybody, but, I'm also equally involved in these things. If I
Yeah,
make
I mean,
this
please,
session,
please, please, please. I must clarify here. That was Sonal's statement that I was saying that, and it
correct,
is
correct, correct.
all of us are afflicted by that. That's the
Absolutely.
21st generation illness.
I'm going to take it a step forward as well, right? Based on that, only I'm saying if I make this session a paid one, imagine very few, rarely anybody would be multitasking because they've paid some kind of money for this session. Now, just because this is not paid for, our brains are tuned like that you know what, this is YouTube live, that's fine, this will still be there, I can go back and I can watch. But provided I had made it a paid one or something that, I'm just gonna be visible between this 1 hour, after that it's not gonna be there, all the multitasking and all the other things will stop. People will be so focused. There was one last year ki baat hai. There all these things due to COVID, everything became remote. All these stand-up comedians, and I have some couple of friends as well. They started doing all these paid, live on Zooms and WebEx and whatnot. Now उस time पे, one thing which I was talking to somebody and he mentioned that, इतना seriously तो ये लोग वहां नहीं होते जब हमारे stages पे आते थे, हमारे show में आते थे, कि वहां पर ये लोग बैठे हैं, they're not even bloody taking a drink or something, they are just on the screen अपने monitor पे लगे हुए हैं and they're listening. So this is what happens. It also around this, वो कहते हैं ना, circumstances या जो situation around you, they also kind of guide us as to how do we react or behave towards a certain thing. So जब जरूरत होती है तब हम साइलेंस में भी आ जाते हैं, तब हम पेशेंस में भी आ जाते हैं, तब हम लिसनिंग मोड में भी आ जाते हैं. I think a lot of things have to do with, how seriously or how attentively we want to do it. जैसे बच्चों के साथ होता है, right? I mean, I always take examples of kids because I have little ones at home, that I take a lot of things with a pinch of salt. If my kid has fallen down, I know maybe she's acting right now, or maybe it is an actual. but I don't react to every single thing. So यहाँ पर सोनल भी कुछ कह रही है, I'm actually baking and didn't want to miss the session, so my AirPods will watch it again. So no, no, we're not picking on you. Uh, thank you so much, Sonal.
Sonal, words matter. You said it, you got it.
Right. So, let me go back. From a medical perspective, Krishna ji, I would love to kind of even go a little deeper into all this. I'm sure there was a great thought process when you worked on the app. I'm sure you had, along with your team, had certain things in your mind. Can you talk a little bit about that? Why this is so critical, how this will help, and what are your thoughts around overall?
So yeah, Varunji, thanks for taking it deeper now. But I just want to mention one thing. We talked about the multitasking, and um, multitasking is not ideal, but multitasking does happen. I mean, many people do that. Those are tasks that are not crucial, especially when my wife is in the kitchen or something. I mean, that's the way it works. I mean, it just happens. So the same way, go-go culture in America. My point is that do the multitasking, do the unitasking, do the go-go culture, but 5 or 10 minutes spend with yourself. Just give that respect yourself, give your brain a rest. So that was the first beginning, that the 86 billion neurons will thank you for 10 minutes. But there is a deeper concept behind it, and you rightly pointed out, much deeper, because this now opens the door to the inner universe, which is your consciousness. And that's where I think I talked with you earlier, and Vibhutiji as well, that I love what Guru Nanak says. And he has expressed it in two pauris, pauri 8 and pauri 9. I mean, he just talks about listening. And many people have translated that in a different ways. I mean, I'm not an expert in Japji, but I just love the thoughts that he has. And before I quote his words, he says, "Suniye dharti dhawal akash." And many people will say, "What is he saying? Is dharti talking to me? Is akash talking to me?" And then he says, Suniye lagat sahaj dhyan." Or suniye. So sahaj dhyan, I mean, this is such a beautiful concept. So what is he talking about? And I'll tell you a story. This is kind of a Buddhist story, but depicts that concept, that yes, dharti is talking to you. And I'll give you, well, two stories. One is Parker Solar. It's going to sun. It's a thing, rocket that's going to sun. They recorded some sound, vibrations, and that has been translated, and it sounds like Om. So that pervades the sound. And then our scriptures talk about anhat nad, unstruck, or one hand sound of one hand clapping. So there is some sound there, out there, that we don't listen to because we are um, too busy in ourselves life. We never pay attention. And that's what I was saying. The silent listening is a phenomena where you just close your eyes and just let everything happen. You're not judging, and slowly the doors start opening. So the story is that there is a disciple, and there is a Buddhist master or Zen master, and this disciple is a great disciple. But one day he comes in and pushes his door, slams the door and enters the room. And the guru stops him and says, "Go and talk to the door and apologize to the door." And he looked at the guru, looked at the door, and says, how can I talk to the door? And he says, "Then go and practice some more." So I think week or 10 days goes by, and then he was still struggling and saying, "What am I doing? I mean, this door, how can I talk to the door?" And in that process, after about a couple of weeks, of the frustration died down, and now he was entering his silent listening mode. And then he was seen in front of the door as if he's communicating with the door, and he's lost. He's not even talking to Guru. He's not thinking about what's wrong with that. So Guru Nanak is talking about that kind of listening. And it does happen, but it happens, it may take a lot of time and practice to be able to do that. I was listening to Sadhguru, and he was talking about his trip to Mansarovar. He goes there and he closes his eyes, and he could see himself dancing and singing, and with loud voice. He could hear himself doing that as if, and his mouth were closed, and that's his description. So this kind of experience is the ultimate experience, or the deeper experience. So yes, you are right. When I say that go and practice silence for 5 minutes, I'm trying to lead people into that door, that slowly and slowly that becomes their 24 hours. That silence pervades their 24 hours, and they can move further deeper.
Nice, nice. Vibhutiji, you want to add something?
One of the things that Krishna ji and I have a good partnership is he goes deep. He's a diver. So he goes on the 30-foot diving board and takes a deep dive, jumps. I'm the 100-meter dash. So one of the things which is important here is about diving deep, going deeper. It doesn't happen with everybody. It cannot happen with all. Applying the 80-20 rule, each one's ability is different. Each one's ability to do things varies. So my favorite phrase is, whatever you know, knowing what you know, take a dive. You cannot dive knowing in advance everything. You cannot be active if you want to know everything before you do anything. That's why you have to take your baby steps. You literally walk the baby in the pool. If those of you have trained children, your own children, to swim, you would have seen you walk the baby in the pool, and then you saw the baby learn swimming. That's my message to all of you, that you can't go deep unless and until you have learned the basics and fundamental. And what my urge to all of you is that keep learning more and more. The more you experience silence, you will experience greater amount of energy in you. That's very important. So I can't wait in my life, all my life, to know everything and dive the deepest to know the utter consciousness or the bigger consciousness. So my approach to life is a little different in the sense that I can't be what others are, and others can't be what I am. So let's kind of find a place where we can have all create a confluence. Can we all sit silent and do a meditation for 10 minutes? Observe a silence for 10 minutes, feel the experience. That for me is equally important. So while you try to learn as much as possible, there is never a possibility that we know everything. Even the experts know more and more only when they learn more and more. So I apply it in the practical field. Most of us are people living in the same 24/7. So whatever you are able to learn, imbibe it. That's the point which I'm trying to drive. Go into the app, learn the art of intermittent silence. That will give you energy to practice things in a much better way. And that's where the first baby step, which is also a very serious big step. We all know, we all remember that one day in our life when our kids took their first step to walk. I think everybody remembers that.
Yep.
That's the point which I'm trying to drive. That happiness that we all shared, we took, or the joy that we had when our child spoke for the first time, or took the first baby step to walk. I want each one of us here to learn the ability to dance, Learn the ability to hold yourself silent for a while and see the energy flow in your heart, and that will propel you to do more.
Right. This thing kind of reminds me. I don't know ye kahan se ye thought aaya. Maybe because we were talking about the first steps and diving deep and all. Uh, I still remember. My younger one. She is very very. I would call her hyper energetic and very chirpy generally, and she's been like that since I think she was 1 year old. But I still very clearly remember, I think she was about a year and a half, close to two. पहली बार she experienced rain. उसको समझ नहीं आया ये क्या हो रहा है, ये पानी कहाँ से, ये is it a hose, is it something else, is it where is this water coming from? So generally she ran like, she will run around. She ran out. She was like blabbering something, but for those next 40 to 45 seconds she was quiet, because she's like, what happened, where is this water coming from? She's looking at me, looking at the clouds, looking at surroundings. She didn't see the hose on, nobody was holding a pipe. And she's like, "Ke kahan se ye kya hai?" And with the broken words and all that, she could not even articulate it, ki kya ho kya raha hai. And that moment of silence was like a good first learning session for her. Ke, okay, you know what, whatever I've seen till date, this is something new, something unique, and I need to now figure it out. I think this is how human brain also works, and human brain also kind of attunes itself. Okay, okay, the next time she saw, she started kind of enjoying that kind of moment, that what, yes, pani वैसे भी कहीं से आता है. And slowly steadily, when it used to rain, she used to kind of enjoy it. So I think it's very important that we also, and it is internally, it is happening every single day. I'm talking about a year and a half, 2 year old kid, but even at my age, even at your age, you must be constantly looking at things, and you should be like, okay, this is how this thing operates. You buy a new device, like maybe a coffee maker, or say, आजकल कोविड का एक बहुत बड़ा जोक है कि कोविड के टाइम पे uh, there has been not even a single family who have not bought a air fryer. So learning a air fryer operate, how does it operate, how do we cook and all that stuff, I think it also requires a lot of silence. It requires a lot of patience to understand, okay, this is what we can do. So these are little things that are part of our growing up, our development, and even our spiritual upliftment. uh, Now, based on what I'm reading here, and Sadhguru experience, it is surreal. There are so many things that can be done. Why this app? Let me just go directly into this. Why this app, and how this app do you think will help me attain that? Who wants to take it?
Krishnaji, you take it first, then I'll go next.
Varunji, as Vibhutiji said, you can do anything. I mean, you can use any app, but once you start doing something, that's the key part. Yes, we think our app has got quite a lot to offer, but other apps also have things to offer. The key point is start doing something, and you will find if one of the things we have in our app is the depth. So we also have everything that other apps have, but we have gone much deeper for even for advanced meditators. They will find things useful here. So it's like going to the beach. I mean, that's a simple story, but you go to the beach, and probably I repeat myself. I love this analogy that you might just play in the sand. You might go knee deep or thigh deep and not go any deeper. You might snorkel, you might deep dive. We have things that that caters for all kind of wellness activities and meditation and intermittent silence. um, but if you find something else, I mean, the whole point, Vibhutiji said it very correctly, is you where do you start, and after you start you can go deep dive, you can go shallow dive or swimming, whatever you want, whatever you please.
Right.
what the app is doing, in this particular case, is designed in a manner that it fits the entire family at a given time. It can be, in my opinion, a family experience for the child, for the spouse, for everybody. You make a pick of what you want to attend to, whether you need energy, whether you need X, you need Y. You determine your need. That's very important. I can't determine anybody's need. It's a wonderful example of my profession and doctor's profession. If I don't have any need for urological cure, I don't go to the urologist. If I don't have a cardiology need, I don't go to a cardiology guy. It is something like that. So you pick what you need, what you want, what you feel you need to work, and that's what is important for this offering. Yes, of course, we have made some things paid, and that's why we had the question answer award session here, that those who ask questions, we will give you a code for 3 months to try the entire thing. But those of you who are not asking questions, you are not getting the code. So I would urge all those viewers today, ask the questions. And if your question is judged by Varun to be the top two question, you will get the code to try the entire app for 1 full month. And so Girijaji, you must ask the question because you have promised to practice intermittent silence. So it is there for free for you, perhaps. But what I'm trying to say to you is that this app makes things easy. It's not do it yourself, but it's still do it yourself.
Right.
And we are available to ask questions. That's the reason why the beauty is in the way we have created it. It's a universal part of it. It does not need big search and big thinking. You can do it, but pay attention to it. That's what, but the focus is all about. How do you build more rest, more more patience, more relaxation, more ability to listen, how to benefit from your own silence. All these things are very beautifully designed. I feel it is very beautifully designed. We are very happy, and we will definitely improve upon it as the time goes. This is just the start.
Absolutely. And I personally should do this. वैसे तो मैं offline भी कर सकता था, but let me just do it online itself. I also am, uh, what do I call it? Lack of word. With all the busyness in my life and everything, with family and all that, birthdays coming in, I myself have not even, deployed that free code. बाकी को तो मैं क्या बोलूंगा, and I haven't practiced there. But I have a commitment to myself, not to Vibhuti ji, not to Krishna ji, but to myself, that during my shutdown time when I am off from work, I am definitely going to do that. I'm going to sit down, and this is my spot, this is my space. मैं यहाँ पर एक और बैनर होता था, वो अब मैं किसी और दिन आपको दिखाऊंगा, but this is like a little man cave for me, where I don't allow people and kids and nobody, where I want to just sit down sometimes, shut down this computer, shut down the screen, and simple सी बात करना चाहता हूँ कि uh, I should just think about nothing, blank. एक स्टैंड अप कॉमेडियन है, उन्होंने भी ऐसा कहा था कि देर आर सम टाइम्स इन योर डे और वट एवर दैट वे यू फील यू जस्ट स्टेयरिंग एट अ ब्लैंक मॉनिटर और a monitor with maximum वो जो होती है कोई wallpaper, and that's it. There's nothing that you should do. This will definitely help. So that's my commitment for myself. I will do that, and I would encourage others as well. मैं देख रहा था Sonal, who also won. She also has not done. So I think we all are in the same boat. This is the problem that we all face. I don't know, इनको millennials का या जो भी कहें, these are the problems that we all have, that we get involved in so many things that we really forget, what can really help us and what cannot. Uh, okay, so this was a great comment around that. Very informative talk. एक चीज और मैं यहाँ पर obviously just because I want to be mindful of the time, and maybe we'll end this session on time today, guys. So just to let you know, if you have any kind of questions or if you have any kind of thoughts or views, please feel free to share it. And we have to end this session on time today because there is another session that's going to happen in the next 15-20 minutes, where there's a special memorial happening for the people who unfortunately lost their life in that helicopter accident, and this is happening live from New Zealand. And they requested that we host them as well on our platform. So we'll be going live there. But for the next 10 minutes or so, or less than 10 minutes, I would say, any questions, any thoughts, any views around any doubts that you have are in your mind, feel free to ask those questions. Like Vibhuti said, or even Krishna ji last time said, if there are any kind of good questions or any, they will be able to give you some kind of discount coupons or free coupon for some time. Here you go. आपने बोला और उन्होंने क्वेश्चन पूछा. Intermittent fasting helps to burn off calories faster. How does silence help in burning off stress? Wow. All right. Who wants to take it?
So one of the Girija ji, that's a good question, and I keep telling people that when you think of silence or if you think of meditation, don't you're not working on mind um, and emotions and the stress that is around you. What you are doing is you are working on conserving energy and creating energy. So you conserve energy by not wasting energy, and most of the time the energy goes out from us, from our eyes, from our talking or expression, and usually the toes and hands, and that's why siddhasan is the ideal. But if you are sitting on a chair, put your hands on each other so that the energy circulates. So eventually, in 10 minutes of silence, you are, oh no, you may have backing of music, because sometimes without any backing of music, you may feel uncomfortable. So you raise the level of energy to a point where the stress and burnout kind of becomes small. बचपन में somebody said, एक लाइन खींचा, 1 फीट का लाइन, बोला, how do you make it short without touching it? And after scratching my head or something, I mean, people will say, you draw a bigger line, 2 feet ka line खींच दीजिए, that line. So if you raise the energy level, somehow everything else goes down. This is my thinking and my way, and this is the relaxed way. Many people try to tell you to condition your mind so that the stress becomes less. Chashma dusra pahan lijiye, different goggles pahan lijiye, different way of thinking. I mean, those also work, but this works better.
If I may, if I may piggyback on this entire thing, since Krishna ji very nicely mentioned about energy conservation and energy usage, Varun ji, I want to compliment you for your confession that you have not used the code, and that's the first step to self-realization and self-correction. I will add something very simple here. Everybody in the world, without exception, has the same 24/7. No exception. It's eventually you don't manage time, Varun. You manage your energy. And that's the important focus that I wanted to share with you. That when I started doing my practice of 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening, I realized that I did not lose time. I, I bulked up on my energy. And as a result of which, whatever I was doing, it was becoming more efficient and effective. And that was all because the energy was focused in completing the task within the given time. Many a time we end up, what was known as popularly known as multitasking. हम यहाँ भी हैं, वहाँ भी हैं, हर जगह होना चाहते हैं.
Yeah.
And that's the one tendency that you will begin to fine tune it with. Is that yes, I have done this. Now you will feel more rested. That's another important part. When you practice some of these things that we have in our app, including a very small 10-minute intermittent silence request to all of you, is that it will generate more energy in you. As Krishnaji said, your eyes will get rest, your mouth will get rest, your words will get rest, your whole body gets rested. So, I have attended, 2 days, 2 day morn silence retreat. And I can tell you the level at which your metabolism gets rested you don't come back tired or exhausted. You come back completely revitalized. So these are tools that are available to you now that will give you much more energy to accomplish the tasks that you were not able to do earlier on. And I will say this, in the next 2 months, you if you are able to do this, you will report it that yes, it happened. I'm waiting to hear that from you, Varun.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So Varunji, I think you have to leave. But one
Yes,
somebody made a comment about music, and I just want to let people know that we have added a new music kind of track, you can say, and it's called Rag Nilambari. And Rag Nilambari, I mean, I'm not a rag expert, but I'm told that this is the rag for sleep. I mean, even if you don't want to sleep, this will.
It
So
will
this
make you
is,
sleep. Okay.
actually, Girija commented on that. Actually, I
huh?
don't know whether she saw the app or she knows about it as it is. I do not know that. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I saw a message from Shri,
yeah.
but Nilambari, that is, it's like for me, it was amazing. Somebody, of course, they have done a wonderful job, but it's a 45 minutes, and we are going to try to loop it. But it's just very nice. Anyone knows Nilambari or see some comment? No.
Yes, Girijaji already mentioned sleep
Oh,
with Lambri works like magic.
Very
oh,
good.
so you've tried it.
That's
Okay.
what I was referring to.
Okay.
He had
Yeah.
already said that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have
He
added it.
deserves the app for sure. So, but yeah, no, absolutely. And maybe one last question. It's a very generic question, but yeah, I would love one of you to answer, or both of you. How meditation will help us, and how long should we practice every day?
You want to take a first shot, Krishnaji? I will definitely.
There is a short answer and long answer. Whatever you can afford. I mean, start with short ones, but we have meditations that are more than an hour long. Once you are ready for that, you should do it. And I would say you should do daily meditation, and there is time. I mean, at least sleeping is a time. Everyone sleeps, so you can do it.
I will tell you my personal experience. I have been a meditator for the last 40 years, and I do it even today. 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening. What I have found is that with this, two things happen immediately. One is you sleep well. You sleep well, and you don't need to sleep the traditional 8 hours. Because sleep is a function of rest, and sleep is a function of how peaceful your mind is. How rested are you in the mind? That's only a lighter mind or a peaceful mind gets sound sleep. A disturbed mind gets disturbed sleep, and that's why you sleep longer. And even after sleep, you are exhausted. So the point of the matter is, Vicky, that do as Krishnaji said, 10 minutes to 10 minutes. But to start that as a practice, I will do it in the morning and I'll do it in the evening. Start with a determined practice and you will see the difference. It will not happen instantly. Let's put it this way as well. It's just like a weight loss thing. It is easier not to do something than to do something. We so easily fall into the trap of watching a 3 hour show, but 10 minutes का time हमारे पास नहीं होता. So what I'm saying is that 10 minute का time जो आप अपने लिए निकालिए, सुबह शाम करिए, and follow that as a routine, and you will begin to see the difference. When I started this, my Guruji told me only thing: wait, good things will begin to happen, and they began to happen. That's what I'm trying to say. You believe, उसकी अनुभूति होगी आपको. ऐसा नहीं है कि आप लॉटरी जीत लेंगे, but उसकी good things की अनुभूति होने लगेगी आपको. Thank you very much.
Bilkul.
Yeah. Now, Girijaji, that's I often say that higher the energy, more peaceful you are. Lower the energy, more irritable you are. So yeah, I agree there. And yeah, we can share a lot of things, but we have another day. We will come back.
Yes. And
Absolutely.
on this happy note, I would say I would persuade Dr. Krishna ji that since Girija ji has asked quite a few very important questions, let's award her a code today. Or Varun, you surrender yours.
Yeah. No, no, I will. I will. I
No, no,
already
no.
got.
Krishna ji will send
uh,
you a code for
because
Girija ji
I'll
class.
tell you. So Haley ji, did not kind of accept the code at that point of time. She said, "I'm going to buy it." I'm gonna subscribe to this app. I'm gonna buy it myself, even though I insisted, and I should have insisted more. But she's also here in the chat. So Soheli ji, I'm gonna still pursue you to kind of use it, the free
Yes.
code for 2 months.
Please use it. Please use it.
Otherwise, yeah, I'm gonna give one of my codes to Girijaji, so that I know for a matter of fact she will definitely install it right away. So I can definitely take one later for myself when I definitely would do it. For now, I will give her that one. So but on that note, like I said, I have to start the other stream. One more amazing session, guys. Thank you for all of you as well first, because as much as I thank Vibhuti ji and Krishna ji for these sessions, it's very important that people like you connect, people like you ask questions, people like you share your views. Next time around, when we do the session, I think we'll go deeper down, and maybe we'll have more time. But tonight, I think another very important, very relevant. I'm also going to listen to this session myself one more time, because I really am learning every single session something new. Before we end, anything else last you want to say, either of you?
You go ahead, Krishnaji.
Well, I love those lines from Guru Nanak. I really do.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, Vibhuti ji.
No, I mean, I have nothing more to add,
Okay,
because
perfect.
except only one thing is that download and experience it. That's all I would
Yes.
say. Thank
And
you.
don't forget, guys, it is Relaxx, Relaxx. And do give your feedback directly, indirectly, जैसे भी आपको लगता है. Definitely give the feedback as well. On that note, thank you so much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and I will see you guys very
Yes.
soon. Yeah. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye
Thank
now.
you.